All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. Welcome to the fourth meeting of the Community Food Consortium. I'm really excited for this meeting today because we're going to be hearing from a lot of our consortium members. So if this is your first time attending a consortium meeting, my name is Mickey Davis. I am the program manager for the Community Food Access Program. Adonai Cuevas is my counterpart, but he's not here today. He's on vacation. And we are also joined by Michelle Meyer, who is our boss. And Ricky is here to help out in the Spanish channel. So thank you, Ricky, for joining us today. So our plan for the day is a real quick consortium overview for those of you who are brand new and don't know about the consortium. For newbies, we will spend some more time at the end of the meeting to go over your consortium member benefits and to give everyone else a reminder if they're not using them. But we're going to spend the bulk of the meeting today talking about or hearing from the brave souls who took advantage of the equipment tax credit program in the first year of its existence. So we have about 6 presenters who will share their honest experiences and tell us, everything about what they did to earn that tax credit. We're really grateful to them for sharing their experiences and being open to answering questions. So that's the plan for today. So if this is your first time here, this consortium is a group of small food retailers and small family farms who are all committed to expanding access to healthy foods in low-income, low-access areas of the state. So this consortium addresses distribution challenges for small food retailers, pricing for small food retailers, and connects retailers to producers in Colorado. So we do that in a number of ways. One of them is through the equipment tax credit. So this is a tax credit you can get on expensive equipment purchases for your small food retail operation or your farm. So without further ado, we're going to hear from a range of businesses from all over the state who have gone through the process of buying their equipment, filling out the tax credit application, receiving their certificate, and then filing their taxes to get that credit. So some questions that I've asked each of the presenters to think about and talk about. One, if you could give us a brief overview of your business. Are you a store? Are you a farm? And what was the equipment you bought? Tell us about how that equipment helped achieve the goals of the program, which are to increase access to or lower prices for healthy foods in low-income, low-access areas of the state. Tell us about your customers. How are you reaching that LELA population? And how did you talk about that in your application? I know that's a really tough topic to cover in your application. So I think others could really benefit from hearing how you did it. And then we want your honest thoughts on the whole process. Applying to receiving your certificate, to filing your taxes, to receiving your credit. You don't have to sugarcoat it. You know, we want to know this group wants to know, what was it like because I know there are a lot of folks tuning in wondering if they should apply for the tax credit. If you could speak to what part of the application process was the trickiest to navigate, which questions were the hardest to answer? If you have any advice for another business, what would it be? And then if you want to share the value of your tax credit, I think that would be really valuable, but you don't have to share that if you don't want to. And then would you do it again? So those are the questions we have for each of our businesses. And I'm seeing a number of these folks here on the call, but I thought we'd first start with Ian Walker, Simple Foods in Del Norte. Ian, would you like to start?
Sure thing. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Ian Walker. I own Simple Foods Market in Del Norte, Colorado. We are right on Main Street, catty corner from the bank in town. For those of you who are not local to the San Luis Valley, Del Norte is, I think the population of Del Norte is somewhere around 1,200, 1,500 in the town itself. It's a very small town, but we get a lot of tourist folk. I call it the Denver to Durango pipeline. And yeah, that's a little bit about sort of the where my store is located and kind of who some of those folks are. In as far as the equipment that I purchased in 2024, April 2024, last year, I purchased the whole store. The previous owners were just a little burnt out, ready to try something different. I have a background in this from years at Natural Grocers in Pueblo, some management training through that company. I was born and raised in Alamosa, and I was working down there at a desk job and was just, I kind of hated it. And so I actually sent my resume to the previous owners, and they said, well, no, we're not hiring, but we are selling. And so one visit led to another, and that started in December 2023, and then in April we finalized. So all of the equipment in the store I purchased. Everything came with the store. All of the inventory came with the store. The previous owner stuck around for a month to train me in their specific systems to this store, but some of those larger pieces of equipment that I think bear speaking about, I have a bulk set. People can get dried beans, dried nuts. We sell Mountain Mama flour, which is a local flour to the valley. A lot of different bulk stuff over there. That the equipment for a bulk set is very expensive. I have I think it's an 8-door cooler, walk-in cooler that has a walk-in freezer inside of it. I have a 5-door freezer set up. I have let's see here, 2 6-foot or 8-foot produce sets cases. And then all of the shelving I've got 3 islands in my store with shelving. I've got shelving along both walls, along the back wall. The registers themselves, and that actually was a separate purchase. Towards the end of last year in 2024, I put in a new point of sale system, which is not an inexpensive endeavor, but it has really, really been a huge jumping off point. We've seen just a really kind of incredible amount of increased sales just from the knowledge that the point of sale system provides. And being able to, all of those pieces of equipment in the end serve the purpose of showing the healthy food that we have. So a place for people to come and actually buy local, healthy produce. We try to be as local as we can. The San Luis Valley produces an amazing amount of local um, anything you can think of. Kind of known for potatoes, but if you go buy Organic Valley eggs or Organic Valley milk or Organic Valley dairy. A lot of that stuff comes from down here as well. Uh, really a pretty neat environment. And I think having a connection to being somebody who was born and raised here in Alamosa in the San Luis Valley is a particularly neat experience as well. So I purchased a ton of equipment. Somewhere, I think the final number, and I'm just gonna kind of make it up in my head, but I think I'm pretty close. 175K, I think, or 180K, and that was the equipment price. Um, I think that Iava Williams and I uh, finalized after everything. It did take some digging through the paperwork of the actual sale to come up with those numbers. Let's see here, the next question, so that I'm not rambling. The outcomes of buying my equipment have been about a year and a half of running a store and doing it successfully. The previous owners, I have to give a lot of kudos for, really set up something here that has continued to continued to just do really well. It has been really pretty. I don't know that easy is the word, but easy in the grand scheme of how hard things could have been. Easy to continue keeping things moving along. They just did a great job with that. I also, before I forget, have to throw a lot of kudos out there for Iava Williams, who um, works for the San Luis Valley Local Food Coalition and actually was the first person to come out here and talk to me about the equipment tax credit. Her and I met. Maybe this is getting into one of the next questions here. Her and I met like maybe 3 times. I brought a bunch of paperwork. She scanned a bunch of paperwork, and then we answered a handful of questions. We emailed back and forth a couple times, and on the back end of that, was awarded, sent the award emails from, I think Mickey, I think you were the one who actually sent those out. Really, I mean, really an exciting thing, somewhere to the tune of 85,000. So, I mean, a large amount. And when you're dealing with a small business, a tenth of that would have been amazing. The fact that it's really on my side of things because of Iava's help was so streamlined and easy. I'd do it tomorrow if I could. I would do it over and over and over again as often as I could, and I would put in the effort there. And again, it was really very little effort on my side because of the young lady I was working with. So big kudos to her. But that's kind of the outcomes of the equipment. I'm still running this store. I'm still using all of that equipment. I'm able to. I mean, we're getting to the point where we're even we could conceivably outgrow some of the equipment, which is a neat problem to have as a store owner. Let's see here. So explain who my customers are. How am I reaching a Lila population? Again, for those of you not local to the San Luis Valley, the San Luis Valley historically has been I would go so far as to say most of the valley is probably a Lila population. If you pull up the map and it sort of shows that area, historically has just been very an underserved area of Colorado, and historically also I think parts of the valley exist in a lot of poverty, a lot of lack of access, really, of anything. I mean, food is a huge issue, I think, there. the other piece is, I mean, there's some education pieces as well, but that's kind of the valley. Again, I was born and raised here, and I um, really did not experience that, but I have always known that that is kind of the byline or the tagline for this for talking about the Lila population, but it was never necessarily something that I really saw, I think, until I started this store. There are um, I think that there is a large amount of people who would never consider um, coming to my store, even even driving to Del Norte. There's a giant Walmart that serves a lot of the population that can drive prices down, but they're also driving quality down, as we well know. And so I think a big piece of this store existing here is, we take Snap. I try as hard as I can to keep everything um, here. It, it, I don't want to have to exist off of um, a tourist pipeline, basically. And so really trying to bring the surrounding area in, get to know the little town of Del Norte and get them to think of me as something other than um, the expensive health food store, and get to show some of what we offer here. But none of that would be even remotely possible without having kept the store open, and kept it running and kept coolers that are in working condition and clean and all of those things. um, so I think that again, as far as this store existing here, um, we serve a a whole end of the valley, who are looking for specific food options at a reasonable price. um, I've already gone a little bit over what my thoughts on the whole process of applying and receiving, filing taxes, receiving credit. The only thing I would say, on my end, it was something I did have to let my accountants know several times about. I had to remind them that there was in the paperwork of my taxes, there were two giant tax credits for the purchase of the store and the purchase of the point of sale system, and that it was really important that those got processed with my taxes. Um, I think that accountants are just not really used to seeing $87,000 worth of tax credits come through with a small business, um, taxes. This is again, 2024 was my first year owning the store, so doing taxes for business for myself. There was a divorce in the middle of that. Taxes in and of itself can be very complicated, and so I think just being as forward with your accountant as you possibly can is really my only tip there. I would have been it would have been a very sad thing for me to file taxes and then realize I had to amend my taxes just to include the tax credit. So I was very forward and upfront um, with my accountants as I went through that process, and I would recommend that. Um, Other than that, it was really not a tricky thing to navigate, and a big piece of that was again the help from IAVA. I know Mickey Davis has contact with. I think there's a handful of people who work in IAVA Williams type positions through the state of Colorado in helping to facilitate the program. And yeah, she was amazing, awesome. I've already kind of told other people around here who I think could benefit from the program that they need to get in touch with her, and this is her information, and they need to get in touch with her. Um, Really, there was not a tricky piece of navigation. Yeah, the advice is just be upfront with your accountant, and yes, I would do it again anytime. So, and I will go ahead and put my email in the chat as well, just so if anybody has any questions that were not spoken about here, please feel free to reach out to me. Email is the best way to do that, and we can get in touch as well if you have further questions. So,
Ian, thank you so much. It's so wonderful to hear how smoothly this went for you. I know that's not the case for everyone, so I think we may have some diverse experiences through these presentations, but it's really wonderful to hear that this whole process went so smoothly. And again, huge shout out to IAVA and all the technical assistance providers who have been supporting businesses. So thank you again for sharing and for sharing your contact information. Really helpful. Any questions right off the bat for Ian?
I have one, or well, two actually. Is that okay?
sure.
Yeah, go for it.
How do you keep? I assume you got like an all-in-one unit, and my question, if you did, how would you keep the heat out of your store? Because all that equipment generates quite a bit of heat.
Yeah, and so again, this was all done prior to my purchasing the store, but there are the actual condenser units are located on the roof.
So there are two pieces of equipment then.
Yep, yep. Yep. So I
Okay.
have the coolers themselves are built into the building themselves pretty much. I mean, they will come out. This store was originally located in Salida, Colorado. They will come out, but I think when they chose to move everything down in 2021 and got set up, I think they hired people to move all this equipment down. I know they were able to find a friend who had a crane to help them move the condensing units up onto the roof. So I think there's 6 condensing units on the roof. And so all the heat goes out the top of the roof. And I don't have issues with that, but I do have a local refrigeration guy who I keep on speed dial.
Yeah. No, I was concerned because that was my first thought: is do I buy them where they're separated out and have the compressors outside, or if you bought a unit that had the compressor in the bottom,
Yeah.
because the
I
heat would be tremendous.
Yeah, yeah. When I was at Natural Grocers, they had the same thing. The condensing units were on the roof, or in the back area,
Yeah,
kind of locked up, so nobody could get to them. So that's really the only type of equipment I have experience
yeah.
with, in that manner.
And are you? My last question would be LLC, S corp, or sole proprietor when you do your taxes, I guess.
S corp, per my accountant's
All right.
wisdom. So,
Yeah.
and I couldn't tell you
No, I was
why
just wondering. That means
why
if
or
you have
what or who.
multiple partners, it would carry
Yeah,
over to the partners
yeah,
and not to the individual taxes. Well, eventually individual, but it would.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the only questions I had. And
Sure.
then I'll email you if I need some know where you got your equipment from.
Please do. Please do.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks for those questions, Martin, and those answers, Ian. And thanks for sharing S Corp. That's something I want to mention here is, and to stress, is that the Colorado Department of Agriculture is the agency that you earn the credit through, but the Department of Revenue is who you work with to actually receive the credit. That has created some challenges for some folks because of filing taxes and the complication, as Ian put it, is very complicated. And even when you're working with an accountant, staying on them is really important. So yeah, I know we might have some folks talk about the challenges they encountered with actually filing, and it may have something to do with how your business is structured, whether it's an S corp or LLC or yeah. So Thank you so much for those questions. And if Molly is on the line, we can
Hi,
move.
can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, go for it.
Hi, so my name is Molly. I am the primary owner of Simpson's Local Market in Trinidad, just at the New Mexico border on I-25. I also will apologize that I will have to jump off after my presentation because we have the first ever Fancy Spider Music Festival coming to town this weekend, and it's a big deal, and I have a lot to prepare. Hopefully, it's very big, but and you guys will I'll be clamoring to attend next year after everybody talks about how great it was. Um, so Simpsons Local Market, we are on Main Street in Trinidad. I acquired everything in the store after a co-op closed at the end of 2023, and we opened last April 2024. So this equipment was existing in the store, and I purchased it as part of the lease when I took over. It's about a 1,500 square foot grocery store. We're pretty small. We stock local meat and dairy products, local produce when we can. We're coming sort of on the tail end of that as the season changes. And then primarily organic groceries after that. We use UNFI/Alberts, the distributor for natural grocers. So that's our inventory selection as far as produce and shelf stable groceries. So what we purchased when we got there, it is a walk-in refrigerator, which is that top picture on the slide deck. And you can't see that's a whole unit back there. Two open air produce coolers and two merchandiser freezers, two glass door freezers. And really, I mean, the store wouldn't exist without this equipment. So it was hugely helpful to have this upon moving in. I certainly did not have the capital to invest in this upfront. So having that as part of our lease was super helpful. And then obviously the tax credit, very helpful. Our customers, according to Square, 60% are local or returning, and that sounds about right. 40% are new or tourists, um, and most of our money is coming from returning customers. We do get tourist traffic, but that's not the bread and butter. Our bread and butter is people coming for groceries. And we like to say, check with us first. There is a Safeway downtown, but their produce selection is very sad. And then there's a Walmart just outside of town, which obviously we can't price match. So we try to just say, come check with us first, see what we have, buy what you can before you move on to the big corporate stores. A lot of our shoppers are looking for the organic and natural options that they were driving to Pueblo for from natural grocers. So that's sort of we try to have that and then some more conventional, like we just have rice and beans and things like that. So I one of my biggest challenges is striking that balance between shoppers. The shopper who wants to drive to Pueblo and get the $30 bottle of the nicest balsamic vinegar that they've ever found, and then the shopper who's doesn't have a vehicle, shops downtown, just really needs rice and beans for dinner. And we have both of those. So that's sort of a fun challenge for shopping. Reaching as far as reaching low income, low access population, similar to the San Luis Valley, we are in a very poor county, poor area. A lot of our population is just low income, low access as a baseline. We do accept SNAP. That was a big thing that we wanted to do that from the beginning. And so we got signed up almost immediately. Um, Last April. We also are partners with the Double Up Food Bucks program through Nourish Colorado, and that has been huge for bringing in new SNAP customers for us. And that's what we're really looking to grow right now, especially going into the winter. I'm encouraging our customers to save their Double Up Food Bucks to use for Thanksgiving and like treat themselves to free Thanksgiving produce essentially. And if you are unfamiliar with this program, please email me. I can give you the lowdown and all the connections. It's been hugely helpful for us, and our customers love it. We each month we're increasing by a couple $100 in redemptions. Our September Double Up Food Bucks redemption was just over. Thanks to the Heart Loyalty of us. Double Up Food Bucks, we submitted about $1,500 in redemptions last year, which means that we provided $1,500 in free produce to the community last month alone, and that's really cool, and a huge part of the reason that we wanna be doing this. And then I'll just jump to the process for, the tax credit. Application wise, I would say they're straightforward, although time consuming. It's a grant, so some questions are repetitive and you have to kind of repeat yourself creatively. But I don't think the application was anything crazy or there I feel like CDA and Mickey and Ad and I were very helpful. If I had like missed something, they're like, hey, send me your bank statement. Also, I'm terrible. They're like, please, Molly, don't forget to redact your bank statements. So I think the application process was very straightforward. We knew going in what would qualify. So we knew what we were writing towards, which I think was helpful. And receiving the certificate, also straightforward, no questions there. I would say then getting into filing the taxes and receiving the credit was the trickiest to navigate. I can speak to the LLC breakdown because we are an LLC, which means it's a pass through. The business is not taxed. It's up to the individual owners to pay that business tax based on their ownership percentage. And it also is up to the individual owners to file for the tax credit on their personal income taxes. So explaining that and making sure that I was one of 4 partners at the time we filed, making sure that everyone knew the forms, had the appropriate K-1s. Also, the state online portal, of course, didn't accept extra documents. So as soon as you submit, you get an error message that says you never filed this document. You have to then go upload it and refile immediately. That was our experience for every partner. And once taxes were filed, I would say it took quite a bit of greasing the wheels with customer service on the Department of Revenue customer service to receive the credit. The first few times we called, they were completely unaware of this program. We really had to like send them emails to explain what was going on. So I would say that was, I mean, each partner spent at least 2 hours on the phone with customer service explaining the program, why it was a business credit, things like that. So that was, a pain in the neck. And also just keep in mind that there are a lot of factors to consider when applying, including your business structure and the owners. In one case, one of my owners, with the most minority owner, has not filed her business or personal taxes yet. So I'm still wait. I have no idea when that credit is coming. And I said, it's the smallest. The value of our full tax credit was about 21,000. She is the most minority owner, but it's about $2,000 that we're waiting on. And anybody with a small business knows $2,000 is $2,000. So I, would not be sad if that hit my account in the next 24 hours at any given moment. If somebody said, here's $2,000, I would say, okay, thanks. So that's been trickiest. We had to draw up agreements basically with an attorney to explain the requirements because as an LLC, technically the money doesn't belong to the business. It's a trust exercise between you and your owners that they will give the money back. So after I spent the time doing the application and basically receiving the grant, I then had to go to my owners and say, "Hey, you could technically keep this money. We really don't want you to because that's not the purpose of it." And so we had to draw up an agreement that had us all sign off just for, I love contracts. I trust my partners fully, but I know that when it comes to money in business, handshakes are not real. So, just for my peace of mind, drew up a little agreement that says it is my understanding this money goes back to, it is on our income personal taxes. We receive it as a personal income tax, but it's not. So just the technicalities of that, I didn't really anticipate. And of course, then as soon as you're like, oh, it's a pass through, duh. But you don't think about those things. So that has been complicated to say the least. And I don't know when our fourth partner will file and we will receive that. And I'm hoping that there's no like time limit on this tax credit, because that will be extremely unfortunate. So I believe the final deadline for all um, am blanking on the word, but basically delays in filing checks. They're due the 15th of this month. So that's the latest she can file as far as I think. So maybe in March we'll get it. So that would be the biggest advice to other businesses applying. Think about your business structure, think about your other owners, um, think about the time that you have to put in place. And maybe next time, like DOR will have this worked out. But yeah, probably a combined 10 hours on the phone with customer service in the end. And a lot of back and forth to explain the process. So, as far as would I do it again? Yes, I would, but it would probably be only for a certain amount of money. Like there would be a threshold, I think. Definitely would not apply for anything less than like $4,000 or $5,000 just based on the time it takes to write the application, plus then on the back end, post filing, when you add that all up, I'm like, okay, was that worth it for this purchase? Absolutely, no question. Um, if the application wasn't like more or less guaranteed to be approved, knowing going in, that would also be a bigger sort of hesitation because it takes, almost a full day to write that grant application if you are focused and aren't checking your email or doing anything else, and don't have staff calling you. So, my experience overall, I would say extremely positive with the CDA side, but very frustrating with the DOR. Not really their fault, like just confusion, bureaucracy kind of stuff. And then also just really, really flag that business structure ownership, because those are going to be the headaches that you'll deal with the most, I think.
Wow, Molly, thank you for that education. That was quite thorough and very helpful, I think, for others on this call to hear about, your experience with your LLC and how that credit is going to pass through your business to all the owners and what kind of legwork you need to do to make sure it goes back to the business. But again, also, yes, we do hear that the Department of Revenue, it's not like working with, just me or Adonai. It's a huge agency. So, and this being a new credit that is really only applicable to, gosh, like 1,000 businesses,
Yeah,
not that many people are going, it's not like, the e-bike rebate kind of thing. And it's like,
right, right.
so, right, in that first year, the lack of familiarity and the time you've spent on the phone is really eye-opening.
I would also just suggest as far as like if you get to the point where you're kind of stuck in this bureaucracy, what really helped us is to just get somebody from DOR to be like our point person,
Mm.
explain it once and be like, "Can you just attach yourself to my filing and be the only person that I talk to?" Because a lot of it was explaining it, 6 times and then them going and looking it up. So, if you can get somebody to be like your contact, once it's filed, it goes a lot smoother.
Great advice. Thank you so much, Molly.
Yeah,
Because Molly
I'll
has
stay on for some questions, and if you wanna email me, feel free, but like I said, yeah, I'll, jump off in the next probably 10, 15 minutes, to go prepare for this super cool festival.
some any questions for Molly?
Yeah, I have a question. This is Susan Gordon. I'm a farmer in Canyon City and am considering applying for the tax credit.
It's literally at the mercy
Um,
of this other partner if they don't file.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mm,
oh,
Sorry, Everett. I think Susan was talking. Do
I'm
you
so
do you
sorry.
mind?
Go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're an LLC.
Mhm.
So I'm curious if Molly thinks that, so that now that you've primed the Department of Revenue and have identified a point person, is it possible that we could use that same point person and maybe avoid some of the frustrations?
I will try and find that contact info. The 3 partners who have filed all had different contact people, FYI. Like, it was more just, yes, I will find those emails, but it was more just staying with someone in the customer service process that once you explained it, you didn't have to explain it again. It was also peak tax filing, so, we're waiting on the phone for hours and hours and hours. Happy to track down who we talked to, but I don't think it's necessarily as specific to the person we talked to as it was just having a single individual to work with, so you didn't have to do that sort of, like, explanation every time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing the work though.
Yeah, of course. And
Make
then
it
Everett,
easy.
I think I heard you say just are we at the sort of the whim of our other partner to file? Yeah. Yeah, we are. So she has a couple other businesses. This has been like a hands-off partner from the beginning. And this is the most we've really like needed her. So that's why I have that document that just says, hey, um, we our income goes back to the business, so that in 6 months if I haven't gotten back I can just remind her like, hey, you did sign this and you do have obligations as an owner and a manager of this company. It's a friendly relationship, I would like to keep it that way, but that is, it's absolutely a problem for us right now that we don't have that money.
Molly, thank you so much for this presentation. So helpful. Enjoy that Spider Festival.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah,
Would I
sounds
be able
good.
to
Thanks,
ask?
guys. Yeah, no, please, I'm still here.
Hey, Molly. I was curious that you talked about how you were separating the different types of items that you had for like people who wanted the expensive balsamic vinegar and then the people that wanted kind of like the lesser priced rice and beans. And I'm here today representing myself for my farm, but also the Fort Collins Food Co-op. And I'm kind of curious, we were looking at like a pricing structure where we want to have a variety of different staple foods and kind of have like
Mhm.
the conventional generic and then have like the slightly higher priced like organic and then maybe like if there's like a regenerative or a local item and kind of looking at that. I was curious if you have any feedback about how setting up your store has worked with regards to merchandising to kind of hitting the different income levels.
I don't have a good strategy for merchandising right now, and that is also because my store inventory is a disaster and we add things one at a time. So we're actually getting, it's very exciting. We're getting roller blinds today. So a lot is happening and I can rearrange my store in a way that makes sense because we're south facing on Main Street. So the first third of the store right now is shrouded in sunlight and I can't put any food there. So I don't have a merchandising strategy until this weekend, and then I'll get back to you. But right now it is fully chaotic, and you just ask me, "Do you have this?" And I say, "Yes, here it is."
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Molly. And Dennis, thank you for that question. I think that's something we want to highlight and maybe we could dig into for another consortium meeting is talking about pricing strategies. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, and also just sorry, I do have sort of more insight into like the high end, low end. It's not merchandising, but as far as catalogs go and like which distributors you can get both from, which is huge. So reach out to me, and if Mickey, that's a topic, sign me up because I have a lot to say about it.
Yeah, I think that's a great topic. Cool. Thank you so much. That was really informative and educational. And some good ideas for our next consortium meeting. But let's shift gears and talk about the experience of applying as a farmer. Laurel, would you like to take the mic?
Happy to. Can you hear me okay? All right. And maybe you could let me know, Mickey, are we more or less on schedule? How much time would you like me to fill or not fill?
We're running a bit behind. So yeah, if you want to kind of give a little bit more of an abbreviated version of who you are, who your customers are, and then lean into more of the tax credit
You got
application.
it. You got it. You got it. And if anyone has questions that I don't answer, I'll drop my email into the chat when I'm all done here. Hi, everybody. I'm Laurel. I run Here and Now Farm, which stands for Healthy, Ecologically Responsible Economy north of Wellington. So I'm way up in the north part of the state. And I'm so grateful for this tax credit. It really was a game changer for me in my third year of production. And I have a food shed, a farm stand that we call the food shed, and I do farmers market as well. And I know that my mission and my original work is around food access, and that farming has always been a means by which to create food access. My work started in the food bank world. I know that, but I was a nervous wreck applying for this tax credit, wondering if I was going to make a strong enough case that my new tractor was being used in service of expanding food access to people who are low income and low access. So this was and also my margins are really tight, like many farmers who are in diverse vegetable production. I run really a really very tight ship, and so I was a nervous wreck in preparation for this, applying for this tax credit because I really needed it to be successful. And so I'm grateful to be on the other side of it and happy to offer a few tips about my experience. So with the tax credit, I paid for Laverne, who is my tractor, a Kubota tractor, who gets done everything I need done around the farm that involves a heavy lift. And so in my tax credit application, I listed the ways that the tractor had already been of service to me. I purchased the tractor in October this time last year, and I knew that I was going to send in my tax credit the last day of the year, that end of year deadline. And so I needed to make a really strong case that she I say she, that's her pronoun, that she had been really effective in helping us expand food access, even in those fall months. And this worried me. I didn't purchase the tractor until late in the year for financial reasons. And also time, like I didn't have time to research and plan around a big equipment purchase until after most of my growing season was over. Um, and I knew that this tractor would be very, very useful to me in 2025 in expanding food access. But I went ahead and listed in my application all the ways I was able to utilize the tractor in autumn as well. So this included harvesting winter squash, carrots, beets, spinach, bringing the harvest in, distributing manure and mulch to my perennial beds, mulching garlic that would be available for SNAP shoppers to purchase in July of this year, planting cover crop to prepare the soil for 2025 production, mowing down a cover crop to prepare a new bed in spring, augering holes to trellis, to transplant grapes, and also some work in trellising the grapes, distributing manure, backfilling a climate battery for my greenhouse, moving the arches of the greenhouse around, transplanting trees, rotating compost piles. So I was able to um, make a connection, I believe, with all of these activities, helping me to expand food access. And then I did also list the things that I plan to do in spring: harvesting, drilling seed, running an eco weeder, grading and distributing road base for the farm entry and for new parking spaces around the farm stand. So those were some of the activities that I do with the tractor to expand food access. I also needed to make a case because my farm is not in a Leela community exactly. I'm across the street from a census tract that is adjacent to a Leela community. I know that I have tons of customers driving by my farm who are going home or to Leela community or driving to work from Leela community. And I know that my community in Wellington has a lot of people who utilize SNAP and Colorado SNAP Produce Bonus, but I needed to make a case for that. So I got support from Hunter, who was a TA provider through Project Protect, if I remember correctly. Hunter was amazing, and I was just really able to bounce ideas off of Hunter and receive feedback. Like, actually, that part's a little bit verbose, draw back on that. Um, so Hunter and I worked together in October and November. I filed December 31st. My tax credit application. I heard back about the tax credit on February 27th. So just setting expectations for folks, you're not going to hear back right away. I was a nervous wreck for that 2-month period. I needed that tax credit to be successful. And I was so happy when I got the letter and the email. Then I'm a procrastinator on taxes, so I filed on tax day. And then what I found was that somewhere between tax day and June, I think maybe May, I got a letter that scared me, that said that there was a denial of sorts. I don't have the letter right in front of me, but I was very sad and alarmed and confused. And what I later realized is that I had used my business's EIN. And until next year, I'm a sole proprietor, is my business model. And I had filed my taxes with my social security number. So basically, I was missing one piece of paperwork connecting my EIN to my SSN. And this year, I will apply for the tax credit again, and I will know to submit that with my taxes. I highly recommend people talk to a tax professional in advance and make sure they have all their paperwork in a row if they want to avoid receiving some kind of temporary denial from the IRS, because this is a tax credit that's, as others have said, not too many people apply for it each year. So not everybody's real familiar with it. And I needed to have my ducks in a row to show the connection between my EIN and my SSN. So it was June, and I still hadn't received contact from the IRS in response to paperwork I'd submitted to them. So another tip is just go into the office. I was able to get in June, I felt finally like I needed to just speak with someone face to face. So I went into my local IRS office on foot, and a few hours later, I had my tax credit processed. And so that was the way I should have done it in early May, but I waited, and I was just on their docket and they hadn't gotten to me in the pile of people. So get yourself to the top of the pile of people by just going in person. Um, so let's see.
Sorry.
Yeah, of
When you
course.
say IRS,
Yeah,
do you mean DOR?
I guess so. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. So
That's
it
just
was,
something to note. It's very
yeah,
confusing. There's
thank
state
you.
taxes and there's federal taxes.
Yeah.
Federal taxes, you're going to deal with the IRS. State taxes, you're going to deal with the Department of Revenue. So I know that's confusing. And again, I'm not a tax expert, but yeah, save yourself one step by just knowing that the agency you're going to be working with anything that comes up with this is the Colorado Department of Revenue, not the IRS.
Thank you so much for that, Mickey. And it gives you a sense of just what a novice I am when thinking about these things. So basically, I just went to the office who had written to me, right? So Colorado Department of Revenue is correct. Yeah. I'm just looking over my notes to see if I covered the things I most wanted to cover. Maybe one more thing, one more piece of advice for folks is just if you know you're going to apply for this tax credit, um, make your case a very genuine one. In what ways do you plan to expand food access, and how is this equipment going to make that happen? I think working from a very earnest and sincere commitment to expanding food access is how you're going to have the voice you need in the narrative, and how you're going to have the numbers you need in your in your documentation. I was able in 2024 to have 65% of my revenue come from SNAP sales. And I believe that including that statistic or that data in my application was helpful, especially since I don't sit squarely in a Leela community. Is there anything else you were hoping that I would address, Mickey?
That 65% is a really powerful figure, very powerful figure. And right, it's not just how will this equipment expand in the future, how has it already expanded is another really challenging piece, especially for farmers, as Laurel described, with the seasonality of the work and the tight margins. But when you can say definitively that 65% of your customers are living on a low income, that's a very, very powerful case for that equipment that you bought. So I want to stress that too. Thank you so much for sharing, Laurel. Such a great application. I hope Laverne is seeing a lot of action. Does anyone have questions for Laurel?
I did. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I applied for the tax credit for a cold room that I had. All went well with the CDA. I got the I think we got it was like $1,400, I think it was. And then I applied through LLC, business EIN. Thought everything was good. We did it in the individual, like with the LLC, it's a pass-through entity. I got the on my personal taxes, my business partner, we split it 50-50, 700 and whatever each, did everything right, and both of us got rejected. So, and it sounds like you have to go through this sounds like everybody has to go through this rejection process. I guess I was not as motivated for $700. So I didn't right away do anything. I do plan on trying to, I guess, reapply or talk to these people. I doubt there's a DOR office in Alamosa, Colorado, but maybe in Denver or something. Go down there, but it just seems like, is it, the question ends up being, if you're, how much are you, I hate paperwork, so, but my question to you, I guess, is, with going into the office, did you just reapply, or you just like, it's like, what are you doing to like rebate this?
Yeah. Thankfully, I had received the acceptance from the Colorado Department of Ag saying you receive this tax credit. That was February 26th. And it wasn't until after I submitted my taxes and got a letter back from the IRS. Oh yeah, this is an example.
No, so I got the letter from the CDA. Everything was good. It said you have your tax credit,
Mhm.
and then the IRS, or I'm sorry, the COR, Colorado Department of Revenue, sent me this fun letter that says the food accessibility credit has been adjusted or disallowed. The department's records do not support the amount of credit claimed. If you disagree, provide the copy of the certificate along with a copy of this letter. If you're receiving credit from an S Corp, you need a DR 106K, which I did send a DR 106K or whatever with the other one. So I'm like, do I just send the goddamn thing all over again?
I
It's
would
like,
definitely go in, Kari. I
Yeah.
believe the letter you just recited is the same letter I got. I was in tears when I got it. I really thought that was a done deal, right? And I wish that on that day I just walked into the office because instead I submitted the paperwork and then just waited the documentation that they asked for. And I just wasn't hearing. It was something like 6 or 8 weeks later that started to just really, really need the money. So going in on foot should do the trick. I really hope that that's the case for you.
And where are you located again? Where's the office?
For me, the office was in Fort Collins. That's our nearest.
Oh, Fort Collins. Okay. So probably Pueblo or something for like the South, I would think.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, good luck.
for
Keep me
that.
posted.
And yeah, this is the toughest part of this program is once CDA issues the certificate, we're not allowed to give tax advice. We don't know anything about Department of Revenue's process, which makes it really painful for everyone, right? So that was part of the motivation for hosting this meeting in this way, so you guys could at least share with each other. But the big piece of advice is work with the CPA, work with an accountant. They are the experts on this. Yeah, and try to navigate it that way. But this being a new program, we are really hearing that a lot of people are having this experience where they're getting this really scary denial letter. So I really appreciate you sharing that, Laurel and Kari, you asking. And hopefully this group can be a means of support for each other. Okay, we have less than half an hour. And we've got quite a few other presentations. So I'm going to hand it over to James with Terasana. If you'd like to give us maybe an abbreviated
I'll be
version.
fast.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
I'll be real fast. Excuse me. My name is James Lewis. We are in Mancos, Colorado, down in the southwestern corner of Colorado. We are Terasana Farm. I don't know if and then we do fruit, vegetables, and meat. We sell at a farmer's market. We also have a CSA through a hospital in Durango, Mercy Medical, for like low income employees. We purchased a delivery van, a transit van. We were using just my pickup truck or my wife's Ford Expedition, which was getting really too small, trying to move large amounts of produce. And so we bought the delivery van. It's allowed us to transport more produce, load and unload more efficiently, increase the amount of food that we can take. It allowed us to increase our CSA share. We started out a few years ago just doing 20. Last year we bumped up to 30. This year we bumped up to 45. And it's much easier to move that amount of produce. We also expect to bump up next year to at least 50 on the CSA. And then we do Dolores Farmers Market, which we are essentially the only vegetable producer at the Dolores Farmers Market. There's a few small people that kind of pop in every now and again, kind of like home gardeners, but we're the only commercial grower that goes to that market. And then we also supply Dolores Food Market, which is a grocery store in Dolores, a small grocery store. Um, and and then various other like restaurants, small grocery stores, food trucks, and stuff like that. Um, and the trickiest part of the application was, bridging the time gap between the purchase of the vehicle and then getting the refund. We waited till the very end of the year. Well, first of all, we had already received a grant from the CDA for building we have a roadside stand, a retail outlet on the property, and then we also have a pack shed. We basically made a large commercial kitchen with a walk-in fridge for processing all of our washing and packing for fresh produce, but also doing some food preservation to preserve the harvest for later sale. And so we had already essentially, and all the questions on that grant were essentially the same ones for the tax credit. It's all designed for low income, low access communities. So that part of the process was not hard for us because I had already put in all of the hard work of writing the grant the year before. And we also, living in Montezuma County, it's one of the poorer counties in the state. So it wasn't really that difficult to prove that we were serving a low income community, and also the fact that we're the only producer at like the Dolores Farmers Market, and we had lots of people that were willing to vouch for us in the community, market managers and people in the community grocery stores and stuff that would write us. letters of recommendation, because we we just do what this grant is designed for, or the tax credits for that's what we do. And so it wasn't really difficult answering all those questions. But you did have to word them correctly. I mean, that's the thing. You do have to be able to verbalize what it is that you're doing and how you are helping your community, through providing them food. So I guess that could be difficult for some people, to do. Um, the so yeah, the bridging that gap was the most difficult part because I waited to make the purchase till the end of the year. I knew that the van was going to be something that was going to allow me to increase production, and deliver food more efficiently. If I had a breakdown with my old pickup truck that's 25 years old, if that thing breaks down, we're kind of dead in the water as far as delivering produce. So we needed a new vehicle that could deliver produce. I decided to go with a new vehicle instead of an old vehicle because I've had, plenty of experience buying used vehicles, and the work and it can be very expensive if something breaks on it. So I didn't want to buy a used vehicle and then have to put a bunch of money out of pocket into fixing it. Maybe there's a way to use the tax credit to pay for repairs on equipment, and that might be the case. If it is, then I didn't really think about that at the time. I thought I just want to get something that's going to work, it's going to be ready to go, and it's going to be able to go for years without me having to make any big repairs or purchases on it. So that's why we went new on that. The value of the tax credit we got back was around $50,000. Um, the scariest part was making that initial purchase. As a farmer with tight margins and just making pennies on the dollar. Essentially, it's really hard to we're gonna do what everybody does and buy used or buy cheap and just like make it work. And then with this tax credit, I was like, I'm gonna take the risk, and there is a lot of risk involved in taking this, unless of course you got deep pockets and you got lots of capital, or you've got really good financing options where you got a cheap interest rate and all those types of things where you can just go out and buy something and then not really and then be able to make ends meet and make it easy. Like for me, I was taking a lot of risk in buying something that I knew I needed, but also probably outside of my means as a business, based on just really needing the credit to come through. And so I went ahead and did it. I got help from having a co-signer on the loan, and then having a friend loan me the down payment, and then all that kind of stuff. And I had to like piece it together. And it would be interesting to hear more of like people's strategies for financing, on you know how to make the purchase, and make it feasible, because that's to me the really most difficult part, because I there's a lot of equipment that I could go buy and use this tax credit to really increase my production, increase the amount of food that I can get into my community. But it comes down to, where does that money come from? Because you have to make the purchase ahead of time, or at least you have to get financing for it and sign on the dotted line. So that's the hardest part. um, on that. Well, I applied at the end of the year, and made the purchase at the end of the year, applied, got the grant in at the very end of the year. The tax credit application got it in. It wasn't for another couple months that I got the voucher back from CDA. And then I immediately went and filed my taxes. I had my tax preparer do all that information, do all the tax preparing for me. I had to double check. I had to go back and look and pick and make sure that she knew what she was doing, because she didn't. You would assume that a professional tax preparer would know how to do this, but there was a lot of little things, in my taxes. I had to go back in and be like, no, look here, no, make sure you get the tax credit in there. Because like if that tax credit doesn't go in, yeah, to have to go in and amend, or just if you just don't get it or whatever, would have been, devastating. So I really had to get in there and just make sure and check her work to make sure that it was going through. So we got it all filed away. But then it wasn't 5-6 months later that we got the refund back. So I was thinking I'd buy it in December, I would get the refund back in January, or get the voucher back in January, file my taxes in January, and maybe in February or March, get the refund back. And then I would only have to make payments for the van, 4 months. I was hoping to only have to make 4 months worth of payments on this van. Well, I had ended up having to make like 7 or 8 payments. And that was a lot of money. I was not expecting to have to pay. I was hoping not to have to pay. I mean, you got to be ready for it. I mean, I was prepared for it and we made it work. But whenever you make that purchase for that equipment, if you're not able to you don't have the capital to buy it up front, you don't have great financing, or you have a really high interest rate. The interest rate on the van was a commercial vehicle, so the interest rate was higher than normal, and it was 11%. So, that's a lot you got to pay twice. Half of what I was paying each month was interest. Which was just a lot of money, and wasn't really putting any kind of dent in the actual principle on it. So that's the most challenging and the most like nerve-wracking part, is like, are you going to get the tax credit? It's not 100% that you're going to get it, but if you're pretty sure, I was pretty certain I was going to get it because we'd already received a grant and we're doing everything that the grant's asking, So I was like, okay, if anyone's going to get it, we're going to get it. Okay. And then we got the voucher, and then I'm like, okay, now we just need the DOR to come through, and it ended up taking a long time, and that was really nerve-wracking. Like just scraping by, spending all my income on paying off this vehicle, and not really and yeah, so I guess that would be my advice to other businesses. Just have a good plan on financing it, and when purchasing something on credit. And then just expect there to be hiccups, even if there aren't any. Just kind of expect there to be some, and then weigh the risk of it, and just go for it. I mean, if you're getting equipment that's gonna help you out, it's probably worth the risk. And yeah,
Thanks for
it's
sharing.
yeah,
Would you do it again?
I would do it again. Yeah, I would do it again. Definitely. Just
I have a
gotta
question.
find that financing or win the lottery or something. I don't know. But yeah, the financing piece is the hard part. It's just getting good terms on a loan, getting the equipment that you need, and then um going through the process. So I would definitely do it again.
So we've got Michelle and Susan with questions. Michelle, go ahead.
Hi, James. Hey, did you have trouble registering your van as a farm vehicle at the motor vehicle registration place?
I did not. Well, at first I tried to do it and they said, "No, we can't do that." And I said, "No." I said, "Yeah, yeah, you can." And then they went and got the manager, brought the manager up, and she did a little magic, dug in the computer a little bit, and they found where you could do it. And yeah, it is a commercial. It's considered a commercial farm truck, so it's registered as a farm truck.
Okay, because in Dolores County, she looked all around and she said that the transit van that we have wouldn't qualify for farm truck tags. So
Yeah, I mean, that's what the lady at the front of the desk said first. And I said, "No, I'm pretty sure that you can do it." And she went and asked the manager. So I don't know. Your county might be a little bit different than mine, but they made it work. Mine is a farm truck, so
okay, I will research that more.
yeah,
Mickey,
good
have you
luck.
heard any complaints about that?
So for this tax credit, we require that the vehicle is either a commercial vehicle or refrigerated. So yeah, commercial means it has a commercial insurance policy. So we are not necessarily requiring that it is a farm vehicle, a registered farm vehicle, as long as it has that commercial insurance policy. Or if it's a refrigerated vehicle, we don't need to see the insurance policy.
Okay, great. All right, wonderful, because we do have commercial insurance on
Great.
our delivery vehicle. So awesome. All right, thank you. And if we applied for the tax credit, Mickey, on the September 30th deadline, when should we hear if we got a certificate or not?
Well, so I think that's one of the largest takeaways from Terasana's presentation is expect at least a 2-month turnaround for the team at CDA to get you your certificate. But then, as James pointed out and others pointed out, it could be what, James, it was 8 months before he got that refund back. And it doesn't sound like he got that denial letter either. So that's the question mark of the process. But we take as little time as we possibly can to turn those around because we know you need them. But it is a small team. It's a big process. So 2 months is what we've been hitting these for the first couple review sessions. So
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you both.
thank you. Susan, go ahead.
So I just want some clarification because based on conversations I've had with you, Mickey, my understanding is you buy the vehicle, then it has the impact.
Yes.
And then you can show the impact on your application for the tax credit.
Yeah.
But as in James's case, and in my case, my truck broke down at the end of the season. And it sounds like this is also true for Laurel. It was the end of the season kind of purchase. So it was hard to prove the impact that this new equipment has had, but you can certainly make a case for future impact. So I'm a little confused about that.
The state has draft animals.
Nina, I'm going to mute you real quick. This is a really challenging and difficult piece, but yes, we are looking for demonstrated impact in the past tense. So
You're looking for it, but it's not necessarily required, right?
it is required.
It is required.
It is required, and that's what we glean from your application.
Okay.
So,
But James didn't have the impact yet when he applied. Because he just bought the vehicle.
so there may be differences in the 2024 rules and the 2025. I think that may be the difference. And James and Laurel both applied in 2024. But it is required that the impact is demonstrated. So maybe we can huddle up, the three of us, and talk about, what Laurel put in her application, what James put in his application to demonstrate past impact. But it may be that I'm forgetting that the 2024 rules were a little less strict on that.
Yeah, but Mickey, didn't you also say that if you made the purchase this year, you could also apply next year? So, I mean, I guess if you're not financially strapped and have to have that refund back right now or this year, whatever, you can apply next year and you can show the impact through this year.
Yeah, I think that's what Susan's getting at is, should she wait until she has a sale, the first market of the season? But she might be in the same situation as you, James, where it's like every month she has to finance it is painful.
Can you apply multiple times, like throughout the years, for the same sale, for the same purchase? So you can try this year and not showing impact, just say that there will be an impact, and then if it doesn't happen, then the next year you could apply showing that you do have impact, right?
Yeah. Okay, I'm so sorry, folks, but we're losing some of our presenters because they have to go. Darlene, I'm so sorry that we couldn't hear from you. I'm sorry that these presentations went a little longer than I was expecting, but I'm also really grateful for the amazing discussion this has initiated. So Darlene is jumping off, but she was going to present on the tax credit they just recently received on produce display case in their Silverton grocery store. So we've got Linnea and Trey. Linnea, do you want to quickly, oops, gosh, how do I go back? Do you want to quickly say any words on your tax credit? I'm so sorry that this has become such an abbreviated
I
presentation.
can absolutely make it quick. Last year, which the tax credit, from what I understood, oh, sorry. I'm Lene Donahue. I'm in southwestern Colorado. I'm in Cortez. I'm a beef producing ranch, direct to consumer. I started out by shipping only and moved into then to my community. I still ship. It's probably about 50% of my business. And I applied the first year for just a sign because I wanted to understand the process. I wanted to understand what it took. And so I have a sign now out on my little county road. And I have talked to the producers around here. And so we do a meetup Monday. That sign enabled me to, we have this little impromptu farmers market on Mondays. The sign was $800. I knew I could absorb that cost. So, and I think that one you had to have the equipment it had to be paid for. Like it couldn't be on a loan. They paid 85% of it. I had no issues. Lauren Ames, Good Food Collective, helped me tremendously with the verbiage. And I am a Lila, and we are right on the Ute Mountain tribal lands. And so, yeah, it went through my tax person. I got a check for $699. I got the letter in January. I filed my taxes, less than 4 weeks later, I got that check back. I have since, it was kind of a test run for me because I just wanted to see what it was all about. I knew I wanted a pivot on my property. My property needs a pivot badly. I run flood irrigation. There's swampy areas. There's dry areas. I spend up to 4 hours a day at times trying to get water where it needs to go. So this year I pushed forward, and I am a sole proprietor. I fund myself. And I use my credit to the hilt, and it's good, thank gosh. So I pushed forward. I got my down payment for my pivot. I got my pivot up. I applied for this year, and I was denied because I couldn't prove everything that I was saying that the pivot was going to do. It's going to help in rotational grazing. It's already helped me because now I'm at farmers markets like Dolores. I accept SNAP. I've made more connection with my community, which is what I want to do. I'm able to then move forward with like a CSA of beef once a month. So those things are I already can see that that's happening. My time, not out there with a shovel for days, for hours and hours and hours. And so I was denied, but in turn, I worked really hard. I got my pivot up and going. And just within a few weeks, I could already see the difference it's making on my land. I look forward to next year. I'm looking into halter, the no fence. My rotational grazing will be absolutely phenomenal because I have running water year round. I can set my cattle in such a better way than I was doing it in the past. I was actually creating a problem with perennial weeds. So I submitted, and I'm waiting to hear if I received it. And I so hope I do, because it would be a huge relief of stress to get. I think I asked for around $40,000 or something. But so that's me. And I don't know if I covered all the questions, but I went as fast as I could.
Thanks, Samaya. That is perfect. What I really love is the strategy she utilized with testing out this process with something she knew she could afford with that road sign, and then coming back again with the bigger purchase. So I thought that was a really cool strategy. Doesn't seem like there have been issues with Department of Revenue. So thank you for sharing. I'm sorry we didn't get to hear more. And with the last 2 minutes, I wonder if Trey, you would like to speak to your credit.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Trey.
Okay. Yep, I'm Trey Ford. I'm out in Lyman. We have a few family-owned grocery stores out here, Lyman, Flagler, and Stratton. We The picture you see was our old produce merchandisers, a 2-deck, and we needed to upgrade it. We went to a 5-deck, so it increased our inventory by 66%, more linear footage, upgraded new refrigeration. It's just so much more efficient. And we wanted to point out increase in sales in this calendar year. This was purchased in the end of 24. And what we're also seeing is a 19% increase in profit, which just goes to less waste with the newer refrigeration and increased sales combined help impact the store. The other small project was at our other location, which isn't pictured, but it was a 12-foot fresh meat case that had actually gone down many times. So we went ahead and got that replaced. And that was our first purchase. So we did 2 projects in 2024. And the tax credits came back to about 40,000 together. Hearing all the stories was great. So I'm trying to think of anything else. We're an LLC S Corp, and we were denied 2 partners, but one was going to file an extension. But once we got the accountant on the phone with the DOR, it was approved. And one party that was already filed, myself, received the credit, while the other party that filed the extension is just still waiting. So we didn't have to wait for both parties to actually get completed on. But it was a little bit of a waiting game. So you don't expect it next month. Like the others talked about, it took a couple months, filed, got the denial, maybe another 2 months, and then got approved. So it's a little bit of a waiting game, and I'm sure that they'll get better at that as it goes. But I would definitely do it again on our next project. It's great to be able to update our stores and provide our customers with more fresh product.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Trey. And I mean, you can see this gorgeous display was too beautiful for us to resist. And it is the cover picture on our application. So we're so impressed with Trey and yeah, all the hard work you're doing to keep selection for folks in Lyman and Stratton really, really good. So we're thrilled that you applied. And thank you for your persistence with the Department of Revenue snags. Yeah, that's really frustrating. I hope today has been helpful for folks in hearing other experiences. As you know, this is a new program. There's so much for all parties to learn. But it's been really fun for me to hear from each of you. I will hang on. I know there's some questions in the group, but if you have to drop off, thank you for attending today, and we'll see you next time. Marianne, go ahead.
Good morning. Very helpful. I have a question about all the folks. Is it possible for you to share with us at least their email addresses? So if we have some more specific questions from our potential customers up here in the north of Colorado, is that possible for you to share that so we can connect with them?
Yeah, I believe a lot of them have left their contact info in the chat. For those who did not, I'll reach out to them and ask if it's okay to share. But yes, thanks, Marianne.
Okay.
Tina, go ahead.
Hi, I'm here for my grandson, Amias. He's on the phone. He has a question.
Okay.
Hold on. What's the question, Amias?
So considering draft horses, can they be claimed for the equipment tax credit? I know that and the CBA has put draft horses as equipment, and other states like PA have draft animals as under there as equipment. They're a large purchase that helps us to be able to grow a lot of produce on our farm.
Yeah, unfortunately, the horses are not eligible as equipment, but there could be equipment associated with those horses that could qualify. I would love if you reached out with specific questions like that. The livestock, unfortunately, no, but yeah, reach out and we're happy to talk through, yeah, other equipment that might be associated with those horses.
Okay.
Thanks, Amias.
I'll have him reach out to you. Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you.
thank you.
Marion, I'm seeing a lot of folks drop in their contact information in the chat, which is so
No, but
helpful.
I want to say something. Hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm not able to copy the chat.
Okay.
Is there some way you can guide me here? It doesn't seem to have the normal thing at the bottom where you just save it.
I can't find it either. Because usually I can go down and find the chat, but for some reason it says team chat and then I can't find it. I
Yeah,
don't.
it's been cut off for a long time. I don't know why they changed their policy, but maybe there's a way that the presenter just shuts that off. So that's what if you could give us the chat information, you know what I mean? Or after you confirm to the presenter